So just to review here on worksheet 3, graphing proportional equations, we had a little 3-step process, right? The first step is you take your table, grab that first point off the table, and you're going to find k. So you take the y value, which we saw was 3, that goes on top. Take the x value, which is 1, that goes on the bottom, giving us 3 over 1, and then we just simplify that, right? Anytime we have a number over 1, it's just equal to that number. So my k is equal to 3. So that's step 1. Step 2 is we take our equation, y is equal to kx, and we replace that k with the number that we just found in step 1, which in this case was 3. We're not going to replace anything with y or x. We keep those as y and x. So our equation for this line is y equals 3x. Step 3 is to actually graph this line. So we take each of these 3 points, right? X comma y is 1 comma 3, 2 comma 6, and 3 comma 9. Right, where our x value is our first number, our y value is our second number. And then we go to our graph. We want to make a dot at the origin first, because anytime we have a proportional relationship, we have a dot at the origin as well, which is at 0, 0. So then we take our next point, 1 comma 3. We go over to 1 on the x-axis. We go up to 3 on the y-axis, make a dot. We go to the right 2 and up 6 for my second point. And then we go to the right 3 and up 9 for my third point. Get our ruler, draw that line. And again, we want our line to go all the way through all those points and have an arrow on the end. Okay, that's how we're going to draw our line. So we'll take a look at number 2. Number 2, we've got a table here. I'm going to take my first x with my first y. K is equal to y over x, which is equal to 2 over 2. Anytime we have the same number on top and bottom, that is a whole fraction, and that's just equal to 1. So when I'm writing my equation here, I'm going to take out the k and replace it with 1. Just like that. Now I'm going to take each of these points. I'm going to make my origin point first. I'm going to go to 2, comma 2 on my graph. I'm going to go to 4, comma 4 on my graph, and 6, comma 6 on my graph. We line all 4 of those points up. We make ourselves a nice straight line through all those points, with an arrow on the end to indicate that this line continues on forever. Number 3, we're going to do the same thing, same 3 steps. K is equal to, now this one, my y is 1, my x is 3. Okay? Like we saw in number 1, if we have a 1 on the bottom of our fraction, we can just get rid of it. But if our 1 is on the top, we want to keep it as a fraction. So there's our equation for this line. Y is equal to 1 over 3x. And because this value for k is much smaller than our first 2 values, right? We had 3, we had 1. Now we have 1/3, which we know is much less than 1. We're actually going to see a much flatter line when we graph it. So let's see what that looks like. I've got the point 1 comma 3. Oh, I'm sorry. I got the point 3 comma 1. I knew that sounded odd. Over 3 and up 1. I've got the point 6 comma 2. So over 6 and up 2. And I've got the third point, over 9 and up 3. So just like we saw, or just like I mentioned, this line is a lot flatter than the other 2 lines because our k value is much smaller. So we saw that in number 1 we had a larger k value of 3. That line is a lot more slanted, a lot more straight up and down. If we just had a k value of 1, that line's going to be directly split between this side of the graph and this side of the graph. So if it's more than 1, it's going to go up. If it's less than 1, it's going to go down. Number 4, we have a very similar problem to number 2 because my k value is y over x, which is just 1. And I could have even taken this second point, right? 5 over 5. That's also equal to 1. So my k is equal to 1. I could write the equation y is equal to 1x and then plot my points at 1, 1, 5, 5, and 10, 10. Now these points aren't evenly spaced out like all of our other problems so far, but they do line up perfectly and create that straight line. We also have a bunch of other additional points in here that weren't listed on the table, but we could have done 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 6, 6, 7, 7, 8, 8, and 9, 9. Up and up and up forever and ever and ever, right? We could keep extending this table. 15, 15, 100, 100. This line's going to go on forever in this exact pattern. All right, that's some of the beauty of these linear proportional equations. Number 5, again, I've got a smaller y value than my x value. So if y over x is how I find my k, I'm going to put 1 over 2. So k is equal to 1/2. I could write the equation y is equal to 1/2 x, and then plot my points. 2, 1. I'm going to go over 2 and up 1. 4, 2. I'm going to go over 4, up 2. 6, 3. I'm going to go over 6, up 3. And draw my line like that. Forgot to mention it at the beginning, but we should know by now, hopefully, as you're going through, make sure you're making the necessary changes. If you got something wrong or made a mistake, it's totally okay. That's why we're here, is to learn and get better. But the point of these review videos is for you to look back and see kind of how you did on your own and compare it to how we should have been doing it. Number 6, I've got a big k value here because my bigger number is on the top of my fraction. Anything over 1 is just itself, so my k is 4. I can write the equation y is equal to 4x. Now I'm going to plot my points. I'm going to go 1, 4. I'm going to go 2, 8. I got my origin, of course. And because I've got a 12 for my y-axis only goes up to 10. A couple things we could do. We could just skip that point, or we could just estimate it, right? We're going over 3 up 10. There's about 11. There's about 12. And we should see that point in line, again, directly with all my other points. Be careful to line them all up. Boom. And there we go. And as we see, that line is a lot steeper even than number 1 on the front, because our k value has gotten larger. The larger our k value, the more this line starts to go up and up and up. So that's a very steep kind of sloping line. See that? A lot steeper. Over here we had a smaller slope of a fraction, so it's much flatter of a line. Something to keep in mind. Number 7, now this one was a little bit tricky. If I take my first points here, k is equal to 3 over 2. I cannot simplify 3 over 2 anymore because it's just 3 times 1 over 2 times 1. Even if I cancel out the 1s, I'm still left with 3 over 2. So that's my k. That's fine. I'm going to write my equation, plot my points. X is 2, first point is 2, 3, over 2 up 3. Then over 4 up 6. Then over 6 up 9. Throw my origin on there, and we've got ourselves a nice straight line. Just like that. And last but not least, number 8. My k value here is 2 over 1, which is just 2. I can write the equation y is equal to 2x and plot my points. I got the origin, 1, 2, 4, 8, and 5, 10. As you can see, again, we've got a lot of gaps in here. But if we just follow this pattern of up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, we can fill in those blanks just by following the pattern. And now we've got a whole bunch of points that make that nice, beautifully straight line.